somehow this balloons from an event that cost $1 million the first year they did it to $63 million now. Mm-hmm. Harry has ballooned the budget from $1 million. It cost $1 million to do it with 400 people. It's now $63 million with an extra 140 people. What the fuck? I mean, that's insane. 200,000 pounds go toward the vets. 200,000 pounds out of 63.
Media are having a total meltdown about Harry and Meghan now, and seeing just how isolated they are and what a toxic brand they are. So the royal family don't want the Sussex brand anywhere near their very successful royal brand. Similarly, Hollywood, as we know, have turned their back on Harry and Meghan as well. The whole thing's a hot mess.
Wounded soldiers were supposed to be the whole point of this event. So how does a veterans charity event end up with a $63 million price tag, and only a fraction of that money appears to reach the very people it was built for? That's the question everyone keeps asking, and trust us, the money is just the tip of the iceberg. The 2025 Invictus Games in Vancouver reportedly carried that $63 million cost. Around 543 veterans participated. Do the math. That's roughly $118,000 per person. Now hold that number, because what comes next has people seriously heated. Look at the American Warrior Games, same mission. Wounded service members competing in athletics reportedly running on around $2 million a year.
Million? What the?
They're ashamed of him. They consider him dangerous and toxic, which is why if you meet him, you do so behind closed doors.
Yeah. They have the bloated salaries. They pay like 23 people over $100,000 a year for a 7-day. I mean, it's just insane.
So Spike Lee rejected Prince Harry's handshake in an awkward moment during the New York Knicks versus San Antonio Spurs game, as seen in an exclusive
this is awkward.
video.
Money's going to be a big... And this is the mood music, JJ. All of this builds up to a scenario in which the marriage is under pressure. The penny drop for Harry, realizing... You've ruined my life.
Meghan and Harry are reportedly so broke, they can't even divorce. The legal fees would bankrupt them.
There's an audit being done on the $63 million right now. I think this is going to turn out very, very badly.
A similar event in Germany reportedly runs on a fraction of the cost with nearly half the participants. Those numbers hit different when you put them side by side. Critics say the Invictus Games' own financial records made things worse. Reports show that in 1 year, direct grants to veteran charities dropped by roughly 63%, even as overall income went up. A new 6-figure executive role was added, financial reserves climbed into the millions, and the top executive's compensation raised eyebrows compared to leaders of similar-sized organizations. People weren't just questioning the math, they were questioning the priorities, and it goes deeper. Reports show roughly $15 million came from the Canadian government and another $15 million from British Columbia.
So, also... It doesn't pay for the veterans' transportation or insure them. I mean, what is this paying for?
The insurance thing is insane.
It is. Lots of private jets, lots of camera crews, lots of security, a documentary, beautiful fashion, of course, from Meghan, 5-star hotels they stay in. I wonder, I mean, somebody is doing it. There's an audit being done on the $63 million right now. I think this is going to turn out very, very badly.
That means public money is now part of this conversation. When released documents showed redacted contracts and financial figures, critics demanded answers and transparency. One document even sparked debate over whether the head of the Games was being compensated through 2 separate channels. That interpretation has been disputed, and to be clear, no public evidence shows Prince Harry personally received any of this funding. But critics argue that unanswered questions only make the speculation louder. Then there's another layer to this story that flew under the radar, and it hits different. It's not about Harry at all. It's about credit. Supporters of one independent researcher say she spent countless hours digging through public filings, redacted documents, and financial records, sharing everything online for free. Then, they claim, a well-known journalist covered the same ground and got most of the public shine. That claim is still being debated, but it sparked a serious conversation about who gets recognized for the work they actually put in. The people who had followed her from the start made their feelings known. They flooded the comments, saying she deserved way more credit for what they believe was entirely her own research. That disagreement took on a life of its own even as the bigger debate kept rolling.
Have been inflated. They've made less money than they claim. And this is propaganda from the relentless and ruthless Sussex public relations machine, which never sleeps.
They said that the $4 million in sponsorships, that the sponsors, the corporate donors, aren't named. So I'm wondering, because people will rag on the corporate sponsors? Do they have people giving them money who say, don't use my name? Is that possible?
Supporters argue that the key financial questions first gained traction because one independent researcher quietly dug through public records that everyone else had skipped right past. But that raised another question that's now part of the whole conversation. How much of Invictus was ever really Prince Harry's project to begin with? Some people strongly challenge the idea that Invictus was his creation alone. They argue that the early planning and organizational backbone came through the Royal Foundation, which at the time included both Prince William and Prince Harry. Some even point to Prince William's legal settlement with the press, claiming part of those funds helped get the games off the ground. That version isn't universally accepted, but those who believe it say Harry stepped into an already developing project rather than building something from scratch. The official story says something different.
I'm amazed nobody has been all over this before, but thank God Paula Froelich is getting in the mix on this thing. I was watching Kinsey Schofield, who's great, by the way, and she had Paula Froelich, who's done phenomenal research on this. I know Mark Dolan quotes her a lot. And she's talking about how it looks like this has been nailed down in San Diego for 2029.
According to sources, including Time magazine, Prince Harry was inspired after attending the 2013 Warrior Games in the US, and that moment is widely credited as what drove him to help launch Invictus and champion wounded service members through international competition. Two completely different versions of events, and people have already picked their side. For critics, this isn't just about a charity under pressure. They argue Harry was handed the opportunity to lead something respected, and it became wrapped in controversy over a reported $63 million price tag. Once people land on that conclusion, everything else gets filtered through that same lens, and the questions aren't stopping at Canada's border. Reports have linked a future edition of the Games to Birmingham, a city that's been very public about its financial struggles, including major service cuts and budget pressures. That contrast has prompted some locals to ask out loud, how is there money for this and not for us? Whether that frustration is justified or not, the debate has only gotten louder. It doesn't stop there either. It stretches across the Atlantic.
So, and then they have these quotes from Harry. Time magazine does, Invictus gives them their identity back. What? What? And then he says it saves lives?
Well, she's big on saying that. I mean, look at all the lives Meghan saved by buying jeans.
Oh, God. What a pile of crap. I can't
it's all-
believe she
it's
ever
all
said it, but
crap.
she did. So many have come to Harry, according to Harry, and said, if it wasn't for Invictus, I would have offed myself. Probably for all the transportation bills and medical bills that they didn't want to stick their family with if they offed themselves. That's probably why they don't off themselves, because of the Invictus game.
Reports indicate San Diego is expected to host the 2029 Invictus Games, and that news immediately sparked another wave of debate. People are already asking how it'll be funded, whether state or local government money will be involved, and whether the economic benefits will actually justify the cost. No answers yet, just more questions piling up. Then came a twist nobody saw coming. Around the same time new funding conversations were heating up elsewhere, Australia reportedly pulled back a proposed $9 million funding commitment connected to the Games. Organisers say they were informed only shortly before it went public, and that move added a whole new layer to an already complicated story. For critics, the contrast was impossible to ignore. One government appeared to step back while others were lining up to commit millions, and people wanted to know why. That gap in decisions has kept the debate alive around funding priorities, transparency, and whether the long-term financial model behind the Games actually holds up.
people in the comments were mad at me. They're like, don't you give him credit for the Invictus Games. The royal family started it with money William got from a lawsuit that William won. He donated money to start the Invictus Games. That's what people said in the comments. I don't know. Don't get mad at me if I'm wrong about that. And then they turned it over to Harry to give him something to do.
What a loser.
That sounds believable to me.
So why, critics ask, does Prince Harry keep landing major recognition while all of this is swirling around the Invictus Games? That question exploded when his name showed up on the Time 100 list, placed in the sports category, right alongside legends like LeBron James and Patrick Mahomes. Commentators didn't hold back, with many openly asking, who signed off on that? Some critics also pointed to reported connections between Time magazine's ownership and Better Up the company where Harry serves as Chief Impact Officer. Those observations sparked speculation about overlapping relationships, though no public evidence has surfaced to confirm any influence, and those claims remain opinions rather than proven facts. Still, critics argue that the same circles keep showing up in conversations about Harry's image, his business ties, and his high-profile recognition, and in their view, that's not a coincidence. That debate got a fresh jolt when Harry attended an NBA Finals game in San Antonio as a reported guest of the league commissioner.
But what's interesting is, once again, the only thing they know what to do, particularly I would say in the case of Prince Harry, is to look at something and think, can we just copy that?
They've already had to effectively shutter their philanthropic business, which is Archwell, and they've got rid of, first of all, a few of the heads of the charity have left, and they've also laid people off. They're getting through staff at a rate of knots. The issue you've got, yes, there is some cash there from the late Queen Mother inheritance to Harry, which he didn't deserve.
When cameras found him in the crowd, people immediately zeroed in on his seat, not courtside, but several rows back. The internet ran with it fast. Social media flooded with jokes and memes, with users turning it into a game of Where's Waldo, trying to spot him in the stands. One comment that gained serious traction read, 8th row for the man who's about 8th in line to the throne. Whether people found it funny or harsh, that line captured exactly where the online conversation was sitting, and it spread across platforms like wildfire. Then came the photo analysis. Online commentators locked onto a picture of Harry standing beside the NBA commissioner, debating the body language and claiming the interaction looked distant rather than warm. One photograph can't tell the whole story, but critics used it anyway to push their broader point about where Harry actually stands in high-profile spaces. And then the moment that spread the fastest, Spike Lee. Cameras caught an interaction between the two, and social media immediately went into overdrive. Some viewers felt the exchange looked awkward, others said it was impossible to read from a short clip. But one interpretation took off, that Harry appeared to offer a handshake that wasn't returned, with Spike Lee instead gesturing toward himself.
Birmingham is getting $26 million, or Harry, is getting $26 million from Birmingham for the Invictus Games. And I mean, people are really like, why is the government spending all this money? It's crazy. Is he getting money promised from Gavin Newsom, possibly?
Why would Newsom?
Because not from Trump.
Oh, you mean from the city of San Diego?
Yeah, from the city of San Diego, or maybe the state of California is throwing a big pile of money at Harry to have the Invictus Games in San Diego.
Whether that reading was accurate or not, it didn't matter online. The clip had already gone viral. Others pushed back, saying the footage was way too short to read anything into, but that didn't slow anyone down. The clip kept circulating, with commentators suggesting the moment meant something deeper, even though no confirmed evidence backs that up. An unverified story has also floated around online, claiming a past connection between Harry and Spike Lee, but with zero reliable public evidence to support it, that should be treated as rumor, not fact. Even so, it colored the way people watched that clip, and the replays just kept coming. Now connect the basketball trip to the bigger picture, because the NBA Finals wasn't Harry's only stop in the US. He also showed up at the American Warrior Games, the competition for wounded and injured service members that reportedly runs on a fraction of what the Invictus Games costs. Harry was seen flipping burgers and greeting attendees, and while some saw it as a genuine show of support, others couldn't separate it from the financial scrutiny already surrounding Invictus.
They need a government to give more money. They need $126 million to be more private jets, more camera crews, more everything. He said he wants to have more competitors. It costs so much money. They had 400 competitors for $1 million. It costs for 140 more competitors. It costs $62 million. Holy shit, that's going to be expensive.
Critics weren't buying the optics. Some argued that showing up at a leaner, more budget-conscious veterans event while Invictus faced serious questions about its $63 million price tag only made the contrast sharper. A few commentators even suggested the visit could be a strategic move to shore up relationships with supporters or potential donors. No public evidence points to funds being pulled from American veterans, but for people with deep ties to U.S. service members, those concerns hit hard and personal. And through all of it, the brother comparison never goes away. Around the same time Harry was stateside, Prince William appeared at Trooping the Colour with his family, and those two images circulating side by side online said everything critics wanted to say without a single word. Not long before that, William had gone viral for a casual, relaxed conversation with a local woman during a public visit. Supporters called it spontaneous and real, exactly the kind of unscripted moment that's hard to fake. Then people lined that up against Harry flipping burgers at a carefully scheduled event, and the debate wrote itself.
So, this Time 100 thing is coming up more and more now. People are just blown away that he is on the Time 100 leaders of sports with LeBron James and Patrick Mahomes and Mayweather and all these people. It's like, Harry, Prince Harry, is an impact officer anyway. I never heard about what happened to that job, but I did hear that company laid off a bunch of people, and they were furious that they were still paying Harry at the time. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, well, they paid this zero who never shows up, and yet they have to lay all of us off.
Critics argued William looks natural in his role, while Harry still seems to be searching for where he fits. Supporters of Harry saw the Warrior Games appearance as sincere and meaningful. Same moment, completely different reactions, and that split says everything about where public opinion on these two brothers currently stands. For those already critical of Harry, every new appearance just adds another layer to the contrast they've already made up their minds about. And with more events, more photos, and more comparisons coming, that conversation isn't cooling down anytime soon. Many viewers saw Trooping the Colour as proof of just how much the royal family's public image has shifted. King Charles III, Prince William, Catherine, and the younger generation lined the Buckingham Palace balcony, and the message felt clear to a lot of people watching. The monarchy had moved forward. Online reactions said it all. Rather than anger or drama, many comments simply noted Harry's absence and moved on, focusing on who was there instead. Some critics called that shift deeply telling, while others saw it as a straight-up consequence of the choices Harry made.
He flew to San Antonio. He's not from New York. He's not from San Antonio. I don't know that he's a big Knicks fan. I don't know that he's a big Spurs fan. But here he is. He went to the game. I believe he was on the 8th row.
That's because he's sitting way back, basically near the roof somewhere, row 8 or something like
roof.
that. And you could barely even make him out. All the real celebrities were obviously courtside, but Harry, way back in row 8.
Either way, it became yet another moment in the never-ending public conversation about where Harry fits in the royal story. And that conversation leads straight to Montecito, where critics believe some of the biggest personal and financial pressures have been quietly building behind closed doors. Reports have suggested possible reductions in household staffing, though nothing has been publicly confirmed. Other reports claim Harry has been reviewing finances with advisors as the costs of California life security, property upkeep, travel, and ongoing commitments continue to stack up. Critics point to the end of the Spotify deal and uncertainty around future entertainment projects as signs that the financial picture may be shifting. They also argue that as more time passes since the royal step back, the couple's connection to the crown becomes less commercially powerful. Nobody can measure that with certainty, but the opinions keep coming. A rumor that spread like wildfire claimed their finances were under so much pressure that even a divorce would be too costly to pull off.
Look, Adam Silver is not interested in Harry. He's talking to anybody but Harry. Look at the body language. Adam Silver's way over here. Harry's way over there.
And that guy to Harry's left there to our right is a member of the Wounded Warriors too, and he doesn't even want to talk to Harry.
No one's dork. Everyone seems to be talking to someone.
Away.
When Harry noticed the Oscar winner pointing at him, aggressively by the way, he doubled back and stuck his hand out. I'm guessing he didn't understand what finger pointing means. I'm sure he didn't even know that this was Spike Lee.
No reliable evidence supports that, but it tore through social media and stuck around, feeding the constant speculation about their private lives. When Harry was spotted on a skiing trip in Colorado with a friend while Meghan stayed home, commentators treated it like a breaking news event. Critics read it as a sign of strain. Others called it completely baseless speculation. The truth is, no confirmed public evidence tells us anything about the state of their relationship, but that never stops the internet. Then there's the inheritance angle that keeps circulating. Some commentators believe a significant part of the couple's financial foundation comes from Harry's inheritance from Princess Diana, along with other reported family assets. From there, speculation goes even further, with some critics suggesting Harry may simply be waiting to see what financial arrangements could come his way down the line. That's entirely unconfirmed, but critics argue it directly contradicts the image of independence he's worked hard to project since leaving royal life.
Let's watch this video again. I could watch this on
There's
repeat,
Spike.
and I probably will. I'll show it a few times in today's episode. But it says here that the filmmaker, Spike Lee, watched the Duke of Sussex hug someone in the stands at Texas's Frostbank Center at the NBA Finals Game 5 before saying something to the retired royal. Oh, I love that he's called the retired royal. This is quality journalism right here.
The weekend was Prince Harry serving warrior games, serving burgers and all that sort of stuff. Now, if this had been done without tipping off the media, if this had been done basically without, he's going to be there at this period, he's staying this long. Now, their excuse is security. If people gathered round and the van became unsecure and all this, excuse me, I get both sides of that, right? I totally do.
Meghan's lifestyle brand has also stayed in the crosshairs. Online chatter has claimed it's facing slower than expected sales and financial headwinds, though none of those specific figures have been publicly verified. Critics have also gone after the product lineup itself, questioning a mix that includes jam, edible flower sprinkles, candles, and home goods, asking whether there's a strong enough identity holding it all together. Pricing has sparked its own debate, with some consumers calling certain items overpriced for what they are, while supporters say premium lifestyle brands simply target a different buyer. Critics argue the brand leans too heavily on Meghan's personal image, and without that star power carrying it, the products don't stand out in an already packed market. So this is where everything lands. Critics are pointing at a string of separate controversies, all colliding at once: questions around Invictus funding and transparency, debates about Harry's professional connections and public profile, viral moments from recent appearances, and non-stop speculation about what comes next for both of them.
And then he's only got $4 million from sponsors, and he needs another $33 million, I guess. And they said that the $4 million in sponsorships, that the sponsors, the corporate donors, aren't named. So I'm wondering, because people will rag on the corporate sponsors? Do they have people giving them money who say, don't use my name? Is that possible?
As I said, what happened with William was spontaneous. You couldn't plot it, and he literally played it to the very best. I thought it was great, and this is what made it take off. This particular footage, again, you're just getting headlines like, is this now what you're destined to do? Flip burgers in a van? It just doesn't work. Doesn't mean, though, they're going to stop. Harry's jealousy will basically mean there's another plot, another idea dreamt up by themselves around the corner.
In their view, these issues don't exist in isolation. They're all stitched together, forming a pattern that critics say keeps repeating itself no matter where you look. Supporters of Harry and Meghan see the full picture very differently, pointing to charitable work, personal sacrifice, and a couple navigating enormous public pressure. But critics argue that every new headline, every viral moment, every unanswered financial question just pulls the same thread a little tighter. And at the center of it all, the question critics keep returning to isn't about popularity or palace drama or who got the better seat at an NBA game. It's about money, where it comes from, where it goes, and who benefits. In their eyes, that single thread runs through every controversy in this story, and once you see it, they argue, you can't unsee it. Start with Invictus. Critics don't just question the $63 million price tag, they question what that number represents when stacked against organizations doing similar work for a fraction of the cost. They argue that when veteran charities reportedly saw direct grants drop by 63% in a single year, while executive compensation and financial reserves grew, that wasn't an accident.
What you're looking at on that balcony is a slimmed down monarchy, a lean, mean fighting machine, a monarchy fit for the future, a modern monarchy that doesn't need or want Harry.
Harry, though, is not having it. He was seeping with jealousy and could not believe that this went so well, utilising this opportunity, particularly on Trooping the Colour weekend, where he thought, let me show my fun side, pulling funny faces, playing to the crowd. I'm very good at this sort of thing. You will remember me and like me. And what they're trying to do, because America has had enough, is, look, remember why you liked us.
That was a choice. And for people who feel a deep, personal connection to wounded service members, that framing hits differently than any royal gossip ever could. Then layer on the public funding angle. Tens of millions of dollars reportedly came from Canadian government sources, meaning everyday taxpayers became part of this story whether they signed up for it or not. When documents connected to the games showed up with redacted figures and blacked-out contract details, critics didn't just raise eyebrows. They demanded answers, and in the absence of those answers, the speculation filled every gap. Then came Australia pulling back a reported $9 million commitment quietly, and with little warning to organisers. Critics pointed to that withdrawal as a signal, arguing that when governments start stepping back from financial commitments, it's rarely without reason. Supporters pushed back, calling it a political decision unrelated to the games themselves. But the timing didn't help, and the debate around it only added fuel to an already intense conversation. From there, critics widened the lens.
Tell you what's more painful for Harry. He wasn't missed. I mean, Harry, who's Harry? Prince who?
Yeah.
Because if you watched the Trooping the Colour, and it was an amazing ceremony watched around the world, you've got the All-Stars, haven't you? You've got King Charles and Queen Camilla. You've got William and Catherine. You've got Princess Anne. You've got Edward. You've got the children, the next generation.
And that brings the focus to another chapter of the story, behind the doors of the Montecito home.
It's a problem because they've got bills. $3 to $4 million all in, staffing costs, security, international travel, private education for the kids, the mortgage I mentioned. They've got grounds staff. They've got help in the kitchen because we know Meghan she's not a cook, okay? We have documentary evidence of that. We've got 16 episodes of We Love Meghan that demonstrate she's never seen a stove before.
The Time 100 recognition placed Harry in the sports category alongside some of the most accomplished athletes on the planet, and the reaction online was instant and brutal. People weren't just skeptical, they were openly mocking the decision, questioning what criteria put him in that company. When observers started pointing to reported connections between Time magazine's ownership and BetterUp, the company Harry works with as Chief Impact Officer, the speculation about overlapping relationships took off. No public evidence confirmed any influence over the decision, but critics argued the optics alone were enough to keep the conversation going. And those overlapping circles, critics say, are exactly the point. They argue that the same networks of influence keep appearing across different parts of Harry's public life, his business relationships, his media recognition, his event funding. In their view, that's not coincidence. That's a system. Supporters call that interpretation a stretch, pointing out that high-profile figures naturally move in connected spaces. But for critics already convinced of a pattern, Each new overlap only reinforces what they already believe.
Have multiple mortgages on the home. They're really trying to keep up with the Joneses. You also have to remember they spend a lot on security. I don't know why, because it doesn't seem anyone wants to go near them, but they spend a lot on security. But Spotify has dropped them. Netflix is pretty much done with them. They're persona non grata over there. And so if they are heading for a divorce, what is there to fight over?
He's quoting a story in Radar Online that says divorce would bankrupt them. They're so leveraged that they cannot possibly get divorced. I mean, I don't really think they're looking to get divorced right now, but it sounds like they're terribly leveraged. Harry's trapped. They spend $3 to $4 million a year on private security, $14.5 million house. They owe $9.5. Now, Mark said the mortgage is $500,000 a month. How could a mortgage be that high?
The NBA Finals appearance added a different kind of energy to the story. Not financial, not charitable, just symbolic. When cameras caught Harry seated several rows back from courtside, the internet didn't analyze it. It mocked it. Memes spread, jokes landed, and one comment comparing his row number to his place in the line of succession became one of the most shared lines of the entire news cycle. Critics used it to argue that his actual standing in high-profile spaces doesn't match the image projected in media coverage. Supporters called it petty and irrelevant. Either way, it spread, and that's the part that matters in the age of social media. The Spike Lee moment hit even harder. A brief, ambiguous interaction caught on camera turned into a full-blown viral debate. Some viewers believed they saw a handshake that wasn't returned. Others said the clip was far too short to draw any conclusions. An unverified story about a past connection between the two circulated alongside it, adding an extra layer of speculation that no one could confirm or deny. But in the court of public opinion, the rumor traveled faster than any correction ever could.
I would not be shocked if in a few years they are divorced. I feel like financial strain is one of the top 2 or 3 reasons couples divorce. And it's clear something is not right here, right? There is something that just seems a little dicey to me with their finances. I would not be shocked if Meghan Markle leaves Prince Harry for someone wealthier. The problem is these billionaires she would want, like Elon Musk and these folks, they don't want to date Meghan Markle. Okay, these really successful men out here who Meghan Markle would love to glom onto and she would ditch Harry for in a second, they want to date young, exciting women. They don't want like an ex washed up Duchess.
The other issue you've got is, so while we'll acknowledge there is some money in the bank account, they've got a big mortgage on the house, and there is no cash flow. JJ, there's nothing coming in.
Yeah.
So you know, and our viewers know, that when you've got your savings and you're living off your savings, you're in a dangerous place, and that's where they are.
Then came the Warrior Games visit, and critics argued the timing couldn't have been more loaded. Harry showing up to flip burgers and greet attendees at a veterans event that reportedly runs on a budget a fraction of Invictus created a contrast that critics jumped on immediately. Some called it a strategic image move. Others saw genuine warmth and intention behind it. But the comparison to Invictus's reported costs sat in the background of every photo, whether people said it out loud or not. Back in Montecito, a different kind of pressure has reportedly been building. Reports about possible staffing reductions, financial reviews with advisors, and the end of major deals like Spotify have given critics a new angle to work with. They argue that the lifestyle Harry and Meghan built after stepping back from royal duties carries costs that are harder to sustain as high-value partnerships change or disappear. The inheritance angle keeps circulating too, with some commentators suggesting that family wealth from Princess Diana's estate has played a significant role in keeping things stable.
Brand, as ever, is facing a $5 million loss if she can't find a way to offload or sell her products before they expire. Now, they're supposed to expire next summer in 2027. All of her jams and her flour sprinkles and her chocolates, whatever the hell she's selling, her jams, jellies, and dog biscuits, okay? Apparently, they're sitting in a closet somewhere and they're going bad. I've never seen a brand where you're selling bookmarks, flour sprinkles, chocolates, and jams. Okay, none of it makes sense to me. None of it really goes together. Why is there a bookmark next to a box of flower sprinkles, all of it is a bunch of buffoonery and shenanigans.
Critics argue that narrative directly contradicts the image of independence the couple has carefully built. Supporters say it's nobody's business either way. Meghan's lifestyle brand entered the crosshairs from a completely different direction. Critics went after the product mix jam, edible flower sprinkles, candles, home goods, questioning whether there's enough of a distinct identity to make the brand stand on its own without Meghan's personal profile carrying it. Pricing drew criticism too, with consumers calling certain items expensive for what they offer. Supporters countered that premium lifestyle brands aren't built for everyone, and that judging long-term success this early is premature. But critics say the warning signs are already visible, and they're watching closely. What makes all of this land so hard for critics isn't any single controversy, it's the accumulation. One financial question might be explainable, one awkward public moment might be forgettable.
According to the New York Post, she is also facing low visitor numbers to her site, which is also why they're having low sales. So the site brought in 213,000 visits in February. It recovered slightly in March with 226,000 visits, but fell again in April with 178,000 visits. Now, if there's one thing I learned in marketing and in social media marketing, and I've been doing this for a few years now, a good conversion rate is maybe 2%.
Is absent without leave. It's a dead parrot. It is an ex deal. It is no more. It is a broadcast deal that's pushing up the daisies. It's gone to meet its maker. Finito. The end. Good night, Vienna. Adios.
One struggling business venture might be recoverable, but when critics line up the Invictus funding debate, the government money questions, the redacted documents, the Time 100 placement, the NBA seating jokes, the Spike Lee clip, the Australia withdrawal, the Warrior Games optics, the lifestyle brand scrutiny, and the ongoing speculation about personal finances, they argue the pattern becomes impossible to dismiss. Supporters will always have a counter-narrative ready. They point to the genuine impact Invictus has had on veterans' lives, the real conversations Harry has sparked around mental health, and a couple that walked away from one of the most privileged positions on Earth to build something on their own terms. That version of the story is just as real to the people who believe it. But critics argue that good intentions and unanswered financial questions can exist at the same time, and that asking for transparency isn't an attack, it's accountability. And until those questions get clear, public answers, they say the debate isn't going anywhere. If you want to go even deeper on the financial side of this story, the reported budgets, the funding breakdowns, and the numbers behind the claims, the videos on your screen have everything you need. They break it all down piece by piece. If this video gave you something to think about, hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss what we drop next, share it with someone who needs to see the full picture, and tell us what you think in the comments. We genuinely read them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.